Hello, welcome to my very first Timberborn video. This is a showcase video where I just wanted to walk through my most recent completed build on the Diorama map. So initially we started of course on a single layer, but I've since built it up 3 levels and each level serves a different purpose. So let's start with the bottommost layer. This is the production area floor, where I have half my power wheels and the other half of the floor is just purely production buildings. So for the power wheels, it's just a long winding passage where I try to squeeze as many power wheels in as possible, and I think the entire system generates about 18k power in total, which is not bad for something of this size, and I think it's more than enough to power everything that is needed on this map. You can see we still have some spare power, about 6k power that we can use for subsequent projects if needed. Additionally, at the back here, we have 2 dirt machines. At the beginning, I needed quite a lot of dirt to build the upper floors, but now that all these floors are built, dirt is really only needed to sort of service the fun building, which is called the mud baths, and it's not needed much else. So actually 1 machine is more than enough. Because we're playing on Iron Teeth faction, storage buildings for materials is not really that efficient, or at least as efficient as the Folk Tales one. We don't have the underground storage buildings available to us, the one that can store 1.8k worth of materials in one building. Instead, the most we have are these large industrial piles, so we have to build a lot of them. And if you look at the storage layout, if it seems familiar, that's because the original design is actually from Skystorm. He's one of the best Timberborn YouTubers that I have been watching for quite a long time, and most recently his Lord of the Rings build has been so much fun to watch. I've slightly adapted his design to make it a little bit longer in some areas, like these. So instead of 2, I have it like 4 in a row, so that I can store a lot more items. And in this case, this is where I keep all of the food items, and I have at least 1 large warehouse per food. Also, you can work in some 3x3 buildings as well. So in this storage unit, I have worked in some hydroponic farms. So on this side, we have 4 hydroponic mushrooms and 4 algae hydroponic gardens. So that is the production floor. If we go up 1 floor, we have the tree farm. About a quarter of this floor is also dedicated for power wheels, just so that we have more wheels to generate more power. And this is also the level where the bad water source flows out of. And because of this map only having 1 bad water source, I wanted to increase the flow a little bit more, because it's not that high, the original flow. So I've added these 4 deep mechanical fluid pumps, which each have about a flow of, I think, 0.5 cms. So in addition to the flow of the bad water source, that is 2 cms, we get a total of about 4 cms. So what happens is the water flows out of the bad water source. Originally, it flows like this and down to the bottom layer, and it circulates at the bottom, and towards the end of the power wheel system, some of the water gets pumped up by these pumps here, and then it goes back into the system, and it repeats. So these water wheels would have only a flow of 2 cms from these pumps, but once this water gets merged in with the water coming out from the water source, most of the pumps rotate using a flow of 4 cms, which is a lot faster. Up here, I also put some of the bot production buildings and a mine. The mine is also on this floor. This is the original layout for the mine. And to make metal production a bit more efficient, I put the metal production buildings here instead of on the ground floor, because it's once the scrap metal is produced, it immediately goes into the mine metal smelters here. Alright, this area here is the tree farm where I have in the middle a circular pond to grow the mangrove trees for the mangrove fruit, as well as some monument decorations. I think it turned out pretty nice. But most of these tree farms are just oak trees with a bit of pine trees here. But I found that this small patch of pine was not producing enough resin, so I have another small patch on the ground floor as well. Other than oak trees, there are just some berry bushes and some coffee bushes. I also worked the district center into this floor because I wanted the main focus of the top floor to be more around the Earth Repopulator monument. So I didn't want to put and it feels a bit weird to have the district center chucked in the side of the top floor. It would be a bit too many things to focus on. So I put it in this middle floor. As well as I realized the good thing about putting the district center on the middle floor is that you don't have all these idle bots standing around and taking up space. So I think it looks not that nice to look at. So I think it's good that it's on the middle floor instead of the top one. Yeah, that's all to this floor actually. It's quite simple. And finally here we have the top floor. So this is where all the beavers live, their merry lives, never having to ever work. On the outer area, we have all the fruit farms. I tried to balance the spaces to grow enough of each crop. The central island is Beaver Island, so with all the houses, leisure buildings, and decorations. I wanted to go with a sort of cyberpunk, overcrowded city look, which works functionally as well, because there isn't much space left for housing anyway, after building all the production buildings and leaving land to grow crops and trees. So a lot of the houses and fun buildings are stacked on top of each other, and I quite liked how this turned out, especially with the flying machine here, the wind tunnel. I think it looks pretty cool on top of all the housing buildings. I couldn't fit just all the leisure buildings in this island, so there is a small bridge where they can come out on this corner, where they can enjoy a bit more fun, go for a little swim or exercise as well. I actually wanted it to be a little bit higher, but this is as high as the limit goes. The entrance to the mound that the Earth Repopulator is on is at the bottom here, and to get to the top, it actually uses a network of tubeways. So the beavers can go in here, take a tube up to the second level, and then finally up to the top. Within the mound, I also put a lot of warehouses, so there is at least one warehouse per type of food on this island, so the beavers will always have quick access to all type of foods as well as coffee and water on this island. So they really have no reason to go to the bottom few floors. They will always be either on this island or in the park over here. This is the island from another angle. To me, it's a lot harder to build this sort of organic layout rather than the purely symmetrical ones, because this one has a lot of layers and is also very different. Like no two buildings are laid out the same way. So it took a lot of experimentation and just putting things in and taking it out until I was happy with the layout. So if anyone is watching, I would love to hear any comments if there are any buildings that I could change or add to this Beaver Island over here. Also, one thing that was a little challenging was being able to route the power properly across the entire building, because I have these fun buildings that are scattered across the island that require power. I think it's basically just these mud baths. At first I thought they only needed dirt, but it seems they needed a little bit of power as well. So there was a bit of challenge there to make sure that the power gets across. Alright, so that's it for this build. Let's set off the Earth Repopulator. It took me about 3 months over the weekends after work to get this together, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm playing on the experimental branch actually, but I'm not seeing any of the new 1.0 items like aquafires. But maybe it's because of the map that I'm playing on. I'm really looking forward to the 1.0 release on the main branch, and then I'll probably start a new playthrough using a different map and incorporate all the new 1.0 items into my build. If you made it this far, thanks for watching.